Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Practice of Karma Yoga to stay unaffected by world challenges and contribute to societal growth. So interesting. It says, action, first answer to suffering. I figured attachment would be the real answer here because action in itself without attachment is actually not bad, as far as I understand. Because you're going to need to do action in the world, obviously. So action is not necessarily the issue, but the attachment to action. So I'm kind of curious as to action. I'm kind of, I guess, trying to understand the meaning of the thumbnail and the thumbnail. um, because again, as far as I understand, it's always attachment. That's the real suffering. It's not necessarily the action or the thought itself. You can think all you want, as long as there's detachment from the action or thought. So let's go ahead and get started.
Gaurav Biswas is 16 years old from Assam, India. I have been following your sessions and lectures for almost a year now, finding immense solace and wisdom in your teachings. However, I am currently struggling with a deep sense of helplessness and anxiety due to the distressing events unfolding in our country. It has been increasingly difficult to adhere to the principles of non-dual Vedanta without being affected by the troubling circumstances around us. The political and social unrest in West Bengal, environmental and social movements in Ladakh, judicial and legal concerns in Pune, where wealth and influence corrupt justice, terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, loss of educational integrity, infrastructure failures destroying cities, climate change affecting the poor, and the recent attack on the innocent medical student in Calcutta. While my intellect tells me to remain detached, my heart is deeply troubled by the suffering around me, though I know both exist in my mind. I've also contemplated the idea of karma yoga, offering selfless service to those in need, yet I struggle to understand how one can perform such actions when individual efforts seem negligible in the face of such widespread issues. Swami Vivekananda's commentary on karma yoga suggests that striving to correct the world's evils may be childish, yet he himself tirelessly worked for the betterment of society and motherland. So my question is, how can we practically apply the principles of karma yoga and Vedanta in order to remain unaffected by the world's challenges while still contributing meaningfully to the betterment of our motherland and the world, knowing that good and evil will always coexist?
I will say this, that kid is freaking wise for his age. Holy crap. I mean, think about myself at that age. I was smart-ish. I didn't have to study, and I got mostly A's, but I was not that wise. Nowhere near that wise. Not even close. But my God, that's amazing to see someone so young to be so wise. Be mindful. It's not like he has the answers, but he's wise enough to know that he doesn't have the answers, and he's wise enough to know about these things, these teachings, these philosophies. Whew, man. Mine came about. I've always had. We all have some form of wisdom, but it's just never as how to say as I don't know what big or grand or not as much knowledge as we get older. And mine started when I went to college, and I took a world religions class, and the teacher was, I do believe, Indian. She had a red dot on her forehead, and taught Buddhism. And the thing that stuck with me the most was the world is suffering. That's it. And essentially that I think essentially everything is suffering, and I thought about it, genuinely thought about it, and nothing joyful comes without suffering. like your drinks in the morning, the electricity. People are working hard to power. There's not suffering in terms of mentally suffering per se, but that's potentially one of them. But physically suffering as well by doing labor. So that's when my wisdom expanded rapidly. I had some wisdom about the world, but the second that you told me that the world is suffering in the Buddhism portion of the world religion class, that's when my wisdom just rapidly expanded. It just made life a lot more simpler, actually.
I humbly request your guidance on this matter.
Very well written. So to answer questions like this, I always refer to one book. Among the many books, there's one book on my table all the time. And that book is the annual report of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, the general report. It talks about the hundreds of schools and dispensaries and hospitals and relief activities during flood and famine and earthquake. And the educational services, the medical services, the rural development work being done. That is the first answer to suffering. Action.
Oh, okay.
On whatever scale. You might do it at your individual level, or you might do it at an organizational, national, international. What is the United Nations? An answer to your question.
Okay, so I mistook that. So I'm glad. I'm glad I'm wrong. I'm not necessarily wrong, but I misunderstood how he meant by action. So to reduce suffering is action, even though obviously, in terms of not obviously, I don't know. I say it's obvious, but that's because I know and I think it's obvious. But most of the times it's not. Is that the ending of suffering, at least for our individual selves, of course, is detachment from the action itself. But we can help other people reduce suffering by action. Yes, okay.
So this is the first answer. The first answer is one must do something, not just philosophical reasoning about it. But then, as he has noted, even if you do it, he said the individual efforts are negligible. No, individual efforts are not negligible. First of all, individual efforts have to be made. Why? Whether negligible or not, because it's the right thing to do. Second, they are not negligible. They can take on a huge dimension. A lot of the great work being done across the world by non-profits and many organizations, they all started as individual efforts. If you are paralyzed by the enormity of the suffering and the relative helplessness of the individual, then you will not take any action. One must swing into action. I remember this young man. He takes care of 5,000 plus children who are underprivileged. Many of them are orphans and so on and so forth. And a lot of other work he does. Tremendous amount of work in India. How did he start? He was a graduate of the top business school in India, the top engineering school and business school in India. All his friends went on to multinational jobs in various countries in India and abroad. And he said, somebody asked him, how did you decide to do this work, this tremendous work which you are doing? He said, I didn't. I couldn't decide what to do with my life. And then he said, this is the intelligence of the approach. He said, if I can't decide what to do with my life, I thought, let me think, what is it that I don't want to do with my life? So do I want to do a job like my friends, earn a lot of money, travel the world? Not particularly. Do I want to be an academic like my professors? Not particularly. And then he said, one day he saw these children playing on the pavement outside in the street. He said, these children need me right now. And I must do something for them. And he took action. He straight away took those children, took a small room on rent, and started working to pay for them to take care of those children. Tutoring other students and getting some money. That's how he started, with 3 kids. Now more than 5,000 kids. There are 2 interesting points here. First of all, I asked him, how do you get money? For 3 kids, you could tutor other students and take care of 3 kids. But for 5,000 kids, he said, now I don't ask for money at all. I believe it is Swami Vivekananda's work. If he wants it, it will continue. And it does. People and organizations across the world help me. This is one. Second question or second observation. Notice he took action. People have come to me. Plans, and plans. Projects. Somebody came to me, some big plan for the welfare of underprivileged people in Calcutta, and said, Swami, the problem is setting up seed money is necessary, and then the legal framework is necessary, and then you need backing from the corporates, the politicians, or whatever. I said, nonsense. You don't want to do it.
Well, he says take action. I think a lot of people obviously wants to make a plan to make sure that it works. When you have a great plan, it tends to work out. Tends to be more successful than those without plans. But I think then the main message I think he's trying to say here is the sheer fact that a lot of people get stuck in the planning phase and never take action. So obviously not to discard, planning things out to make sure that they work and they have the highest chance of success, but also don't get stuck at the planning phase, never taking action.
And then I gave the example of this boy, this young man who had no idea at all how to take care of children, who had no idea at all about where the money will come from, what are the legal proceedings, what are the corporate structures involved, nothing at all. He just felt a need to help and he started helping. And look now. Whereas you're considering the problems and you're paralyzed into inactivity. I asked him, what have that young man who had come with projects, what have you done so far? He has got some PowerPoint or something like that much. He's done nothing else. I've not actually helped anybody yet. Get out there. The doing will teach you how to do it. And start doing it. Vivekananda said, it's not from the intellect. It is from the heart. Everything begins with a feeling. Somebody asked this young man that these 5,000 kids you're taking care of, how did you get this idea? He said it didn't start with an idea. It started with a feeling. The ideas came later. And the plans came later. But it started with a feeling. Now,
real quick, yes. This is very much true with a lot of things, You're not going to have plans for something if you have no idea what it is. Generally speaking, most things start because of a feeling. I think I would 100% agree with that. Most things do. Excuse me. Like in the U.S., there are a lot of people whose loved ones have died, and some of them started foundations because of that feeling of a loss. Loss has a great way of motivating people to do things, I forget what's her name. She was saved by the Navy SEALs, I believe. She was in Africa helping children over there, and she got captured by I guess a gang of African people who are like addicted to the drug. Didn't do anything to her, but she was clearly starving and needed medical attention. Sadly, they were all put down and she was rescued. Then she started a foundation helping veterans because of that traumatization that she felt and that feeling that she felt about those Navy SEALs that helped her. Traumatic stuff tends to motivate a lot of people, and hopefully it doesn't always take traumatic events to get people to be motivated to do things, but it is a very strong motivation to do something about something, whether it's starting an organization or just merely donating to a charity.
Individual is helpless. Suppose what can one do in face of such huge suffering? This young man gave me the answer. He said, somebody asked him, where do you get motivation to take care of so many little children? He said, I have got an intrinsic motivator and an extrinsic one. Extrinsic one is, look, I started with 3 kids and it became 5 and 50 and 500 and 5,000. So good. It's growing and it's all doing well. But the intrinsic motivator was, this is the right thing to do. Suppose I did not succeed. Suppose I made no difference at all. I would still do it. It's not that I will look for something else to do. I would still do it because it needs to be done. These children need to be taken care of. So I would still do it. So they see the right thing to do. I am small and helpless. What can I do? Even if I do anything, it will still make no dent to the world. Doesn't matter. It's still the right thing to do. Okay. After having done all this is the first answer. The second answer is he himself said, good and evil will always coexist. But Swami Vivekananda still worked. It's childish to think that the world will be set right by me. Vivekananda said, he gave the example of the dog's curly tail. Yeah? So there was once, the person was doing meditation to fulfill his desires, and God appeared before him. So what do you want? Give me a genie, a ghost, a powerful demon who can do everything that I want. It's actually something that stands for the human mind. God said, all right, I'll give it to you, but remember, it'll do anything that you want. But remember, on condition, you always have to give it something to do. Otherwise, it's going to come and break your neck. It's going to snap your neck. So he said, all right, I have plenty of things to be done. The ghost appeared before me. Command me, master. God has told me to serve you. And this man said, give me lots of money. Done. Immediately, lots of money came to him. Make me a beautiful house. Done. Huge mansion. A sumptuous meal served by servants in gold and silver. Done. Meal. This man began to sweat. And he said, and then he had a list, your Amazon shopping cart. He ran through them. Everything is done. And by the time the moment he hesitated, the ghost began to crack his knuckles. That's our mind, basically. Unless you employ it well, it's going to snap our own neck. It destroys us. So this man was in terror. And then he ran for his life. But the ghost wouldn't let him. He's chasing him. Let me get my hands on you. I'm going to snap your neck. Give me something to do. Give me something to do. And he ran. He couldn't think of anything more. Finally, he came to God and said, God, help me. What happened? I can't think of, all my desires have been fulfilled. I gave him some useless desires also. Those also are fulfilled. Done. Now I can't think of anything. And look, he's coming to snap my neck. So God said, all right, that's easily done. Give him this dog, the curly tail. Tell him to straighten out the curly tail of the dog. So Vivekananda apparently told this story so well, he would have the entire audiences in splits. So, and he gave it to the ghost and said, straighten out the curly tail of the dog. And the ghost said, that's easily done, that's nothing. And he straightened it out. The moment he let it go, it became curly again. And the ghost carefully straightened it out and left it again, it became curly. And the ghost carefully again did it. And the ghost said, oh my, I am a veteran ghost. I've never been put to so much trouble in all the millennia of my existence. I've never had such trouble. And the legend has it, is still straightening out the curly tail of her. And that's what we are doing when we are trying to straighten out the world. Then why do it? Vivekananda said, first beneficiary is ourselves, we ourselves. In trying to straighten out the world, we get straightened out ourselves. We get straightened out.
I figured he'd say like, the world is kind of like a tug rope, where the balance of good and evil is constantly fighting each other. When the dog's tail is straightened out, it's when we have that momentary peace of, in a sense, ecstasy. Guy, what's that word? Delight, joyfulness, pleasantries, because his world's at peace. But as the tail starts to curve, more and more of the evil starts to come back to the world until it becomes disastrous, where once again we have to pull the tail back to have that peace. This is how I'm kind of understanding the story, is that we should never give up, because if we give up, we'll let evil win. If we're constantly fighting, at least we're fighting for something good and decent.
I remember this monk long ago. I was a novice, and he was talking about another monk. He says, look at that monk. All of us, we are here in this world, and especially in the ashram, in the Ramakrishna mission, in the spiritual life. Have you seen a screw? A screw has these, what do you call them? Threads. If you push them through a machine which, rubs it out, it sort of polishes it, slowly the threads get evened out and become smooth. Smooth like a needle it becomes. So we need to we have a lot of these knots in us, and life smoothens it out. And especially if you do spiritual practice, you are in an ashram, you're leading a spiritual life in some way, either in ashram or in the household, it smoothens out. Then we become straight. Before that, we have many of these little knots and little problems in ourselves, complications within ourselves. That gets straightened out by life. By going through this, if you do it sincerely, it gets straightened out much faster. And then the reason he said all this to me was, he said, now look at that monk. There was this very wonderful young monk. He said, there are these rare few who come into this life, into this machine, straight. They're already straightened out. See how pure and simple he is. He also said, such people don't live long. It's interesting. That monk died when he was quite young. So we are getting straightened out. The answer to him is, in order to get straightened out, we must do this work. Why do this work? Because it is right, it should be done. Why do this work? Because individuals can make a big difference. But ultimately, spiritually, why do this work? Because it straightens us out. Vivekananda said, I'm going to put into work a machine. I'm going to set up a machine. He called it a purity drilling machine, which will purify individuals who go through it. The whole spiritual enterprise of the Ramakrishna movement, of which we are all a part. We get into it with a lot of threads. We come out of it more or less straightened out and polished.
Okay, I would have probably rephrased that last part. Screws and nails are useful for different purposes. So it's kind of really weird for him to say, why are we born screws? And why do we need to get polished to a nail? I mean, I guess I'm trying to find a way to maybe a better example of that. Hopefully it's a better example, I don't know, let me know. But it's like, imagine if we were, in a world where nails are needed, we're all born screws. So there's this machine called Eastern philosophy that will shave off all your, I don't know what to call the screw part of it. Anyway, the screw part of it will shave that all off and polish you to a nail to better fit in this world. It's really weird. It's like you're fitting into the world. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's basically the world needs nails for some reason, and we're all screws. And there's this machine, which is the teachings, basically, that will help you remove the screw parts. That sounds weird. It's a bad analogy, but I'm trying my best to keep it with what he's trying to say, and then become a nail for this world. Where it becomes easier, smoother. But yeah, I guess there could be a better analogy than that, but I don't know. The only thing I can think of is the fact that we're all nails in this world. We're all bent and crooked and damaged and hurtful and painful, and we need this philosophy, Eastern philosophy, to straighten us out, to polish us, make us smooth, so that whenever we're struck into this world, it'll be an easy penetration. I don't know. I don't know, but because that's what the nails are for, to hammer into things, or to nail into things, should I say. So I tried my best. Don't know if it worked. It sounds really weird, in my opinion. But anyways, I would say that 16-year-old kid is definitely, at least compared to me when I'm 16, significantly wiser. Never thought about that stuff. So that's my reaction to practice karma yoga to stay unaffected by the world's challenges and contribute to societal growth. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, the down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.